welcome to the Fighting Fantasy playlist. My name is Adam, and in today's episode, we're talking all about SkyLord. SkyLord is book 33 in the Fighting Fantasy series, and it's the third publication of 1988. It's written by Martin Allen, and the inside illustrations are done by Tim Yell. The cover illustration is done by Les Edwards, and I tell you, this is an awesome cover, in my opinion. When we did a top 10 quite a while back, it didn't get a lot of love. In fact, a lot of people said it was just a boring cover, but for me, it's a very interesting cover if you look at it, because it's reminiscent of pod racing from the Phantom Menace. It looks exactly like that. Now, for me it does, this is the second time the Star Wars universe has pulled directly from the Fighting Fantasy series. As all the fans know, Ian McCraig started his career with the Fighting Fantasy series and the Games Workshop, and was the artist on many of the early books, including City of Thieves. He did the cover illustration, and if you go back and look at City of Thieves, the character on the front bears a striking resemblance to Darth Maul, like a skeletalized version. And he also then went on to work for Lucasfilm, and he also went on to design the final look of Darth Maul. So for me, this is like the second time Star Wars has pulled from this universe. I mean, that's just my opinion. But SkyLord is a very interesting book. I think it's a really underrated book because it's very enjoyable to play, and it has loads of replayability about it. And before we get into the inside sort of story, when you first turn over, you're presented with these two diagrams, a start side and a finish side, and it's like, very interesting. What's that all about? Well, let me read the inside cover, and we can see what it's all about. Beneath the Dome of Marvels, in the legendary vaults of Akarak, the treacherous Labastin is cloning an army of terrifying super warriors to conquer the cosmos. And only you, SkyLord Yang Minstrel, elite solar trooper, special agent, and four-armed fighter from the 16th Eon, can stop him. Armed with a laser sword and pistol, electro javelin, and spiked buckler, you must journey into the vaults and defeat the evil mastermind. But beware, Labastin has set many traps. Monsters, mutants, and space brigands lie in wait for the unwary, and success is by no means certain. If you fail, millions will die. If you succeed, you will win a prize almost beyond your wildest dreams. So, I mean, that story is pretty full on, and the inside illustrations by Tim Yell are very simplistic in their design, like Starship Traveler, but they're very effective for this story. The story is obviously set in a space theme, it doesn't really say if it's kind of set on Titan into the future or if it's just set in another galaxy, but it does have an intro about the star system you live in. Just doesn't mention Titan, that's all. Nor does it mention a time period at all, so it's just another galaxy somewhere else. Your usual skill, stamina, luck is in force, but also you have money in the form of credits, you have a rating, and you have an oxygen supply points to keep track of throughout the game as well. So it's a very interesting book. It's the second time I've seen spaceships being used. You have a spaceship sheet and you have its enemy counterpart. So Starship Traveler perhaps inspired, but the story itself is very interesting because it's a very full-on rich book. You'll read it and you'll be lost the first time. I died sort of halfway through, so I didn't get to complete it. But I'll be going back to reread it because it's just rich, full of world building. Basically, it really does build a world within these pages. So the replayability factor is, you'll easily not get bored by reading it again and again and again and again until you complete it. I really enjoy this cover. I really enjoyed reading the little part of the book I got to read, and I can't wait to go back in and finish it. It's an awesome one, really. So that's it, really. That's all I can say for SkyLord. I really recommend it if you're a Fighting Fantasy fan. Seek this book out, find it. It's probably a little bit getting a bit rare to find this book, maybe, as opposed to something like Warlock of Fire Mountain, which you can find in like 4 different formats, very easily. This is perhaps, you're not going to see these in charity shops a lot, perhaps, but it's definitely worth a read. So that's it for this episode. In the next episode, we'll be talking all about Stealer of Souls, and we've got a little bit of a sort of a big thing coming up on the YouTube, where a Q&A video. As soon as we hit book 50, which is in like 15 or so books, we're going to do a Q&A. So send in your questions that you'd like to ask about your any book, perhaps about any sort of, oh, I'm stuck on this book and I need some help, or even just about these videos, and or about the Fighting Fantasy series. Send in your questions and we'll go through them in a Q&A on book 50, or just, sort of before or after. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next week, guys.